Howdy everybody, Steve here, KM9G. Today we're going to take a look at the Radioddity DB25-D. That rhymed way more than it should have. We're going to do some APRS type stuff on it. It's very easy to get this thing set up to beacon only. It's got GPS in it, so it will beacon at your position. I don't need this microphone for this part of the video. It also will not really receive and decode APRS until you take the next level and get yourself something like this AIOC board, or make up your own mic cable to get data in and out of the radio into your computer to decode APRS. And there are better, cheaper ways of doing that than this, but it's an option, and we'll probably explore that a little bit later in a future video as well. This is the AIOC board, and it plugs into the K connector port on the side of the radio so that you can get audio in and out of the radio and into the computer. Real quick, this video is part of a series of videos on the DB25-D, and one thing you're going to need to do before you do any of this APRS nonsense with this radio is do your firmware update. That was the previous video. This is the APRS video, and the next video is going to be about hooking this thing up and doing some repeater work and stuff with it. And then maybe that AIOC video, I don't know. But be sure you are subscribed to the channel by clicking the link down below so you can get some future updates when those videos drop for you. I'm going to hit the menu button, which is pushing this rotary dial here on the outside. And then we want to go over to local set, because I think just for the purposes of this video, I should start at a factory reset, at a known good position. So we are factory resetting, and this actually takes a long time. This factory reset will not erase your built-in channel memories or anything. And then it reboots and turns itself back on, and now that beeping is back. All right, so we got to get rid of that beeping real fast. That beeping. Go into tone set, go into profiles, and then turn it to silent. Ah, thank you. Half of the stuff we need to do gets done in the radio, and the other half of the stuff gets done in the CPS software. So after we get that all done, the next thing to do is to go into the menu and go to Appendix. And under Appendix, you have GPS. And if you want to beacon GPS coordinates where you are, then you need to have your GPS turned on. Under GPS serial data, just make sure all of these are checked. And then in calibrator, make sure you have calibrator set to auto. Otherwise, if you do manual, then it's, you set your own time zone kind of thing. So I just leave it set to auto, and then it receives the data from the satellite that knows where it is and what time zone it is in, and sets it accordingly. And then this last option, I don't know why it's a G, but there's a G on there for APRS. Okay. Go in and click that. APRS type. I set mine to analog APRS. We might do a DMR APRS video in the future, but that'll be down the road a piece. And then after we do APRS type of analog APRS, then there is this analog APRS option that has a ton of things in it. PTT upload, I want to put that onto close. Otherwise, every time you release the PTT on the microphone, it's going to transmit your GPS coordinates and your APRS message and everything out. And I don't want to do that. So, I mean, you might. Go for it if you do. Upload power. Set this to high or low as you see fit. I'm going to set it to low because I'm in the same room as my APRS receiver. Upload frequency. So this one here, I want to clear this out. And I'm hitting the BE key on top of the radio to do that. 144. Where's the dot key? All right, no dot. Let's see if this is going to work. Without a period. Set OK. And then long press the back key to go back, and it's going to take you all the way back out. And if it doesn't work here, we have to do settings in the CPS anyway. Where is it? Upload frequency. Yeah, it didn't take it here. So we'll do that in the CPS. So don't worry about upload frequency. Upload path. That looks good. Long press delete to go back out, which takes me all the way back out. Upload text. So you can enter the text in from the front panel of the radio. So first I'm going to delete this entire message, and then we'll show you this. It's easier to do this in the CPS. Okay, this is going to be fun. So I'm going to put in a message that says, first off I need capital letters. So you long press the octothorpe, the pound key. And then that switches up here into uppercase. So now we do T, O, and then I want some punctuation, dot, and then to get a space you have to long press the star key, And then I'm still in uppercase mode. I really don't want to be in uppercase mode for all of this. So there's the A for the beginning. Long press the pound key, and it switches to PY, which is, I don't know what the right word is for it, but it's Chinese characters instead of Arabic letters. Long press the pound key again, and it switches to numbers. Long press the pound key again, and it switches to lowercase. And basically I'm holding the pound key down until the switch happens on the screen. And then A, S, long press the star key for a space, and then here. And then press menu for OK. And then it says set OK. All right, let's get out of here. DMR APRS, we're skipping that for now. Timer. This is set to 120 seconds, which is a decent beacon interval, but for testing purposes, I'm going to shrink this down to 30. You can also turn it off, or you can go as high as 7,650 seconds. Why? Anyway, I'm going to set mine to 30 seconds for the testing purposes. And that red light coming on is it beaconing. It's doing its transmit thing. So while you're playing with this, make sure you have an antenna on so you don't hurt anything. Beacon, you can either do a GPS beacon or preset beacon. The preset would be you typing in your lat long, latitude, longitude. I'm going to do GPS, which is what it defaulted to. That is it for settings in the radio. So let's get over to the computer. I will say this right out of the bag. The included CPS software from the manufacturer, from Radioddity, absolutely stinks. There is no better way to say it. However, I have a solution for you, and that's what we're going to do first. In order to get this thing connected to your computer properly, you want to use the cable that came with the radio. It's got a K connector on one side and a big USB port on the other side. And this is big because it has a serial to USB converter built into it. On the side of your radio, there is a K connector hiding behind a little cover that you unscrew. Once you get that unscrewed, plug that cable in, and then this one here goes into an available USB port on your computer. When I took my USB cable that came with the radio and I plugged it into the computer, everything just worked for me. If you go into Device Manager under Windows and you see a little warning triangle saying that there's a problem with the COM port, I will leave a link to this page here in the description down below for you, and this will go through all of the information on how to install the drivers and where to get the drivers and so forth. So if you have a problem, don't worry about it too much. Just follow the instructions on this page to get it all sorted out. And there you go. There is a piece of software called CP Editor or Code Plug Editor by David MM7DBT. And I will leave a link to this in the description down below so you can go get your own version of it. It is free to use and it is Windows only, unfortunately, but so is the original version of the CPS from Radioddity as well. I have downloaded it to my downloads folder, and I am going to go ahead and run it here by just double clicking on it. And this is the installer program, so I'm going to pick next. This works with the GD88, with the DB25 and the DB40 as well. So all of the radios that share that kind of common user interface, it works with. So let's hit next, and I'm picking the default location, next, and it's doing the install, and it wants to know if I want to install the thing that I asked it to install, and yes, I do. And at the very end, it says, do you want to launch it? I'm going to say no for a reason. Not an important reason, but a reason. By default, it drops an icon on your desktop, so that's where you will find it, and then just double click on it. Then it's going to ask you, and it asked me this quite a few times, and I did just download this today, so why there is an update, I don't know, but if I say yes, it'll ask me if I want to run the updater. And then it's doing an update. That's a pretty cool looking old ANSI art style thing. And now it's not going to ask me. And I think if I exit, the other day when I was doing this, I would exit and go back in and it would keep asking me over and over again. So it ain't doing that today, which is a good thing. The first thing you ever want to do when you do any kind of work with one of these DMR radios is read from the radio, and it automatically detected my serial port. It's also the only serial port I have. And once you have read from the radio, just first thing right out of the gate, save. And I'm going to save this on the desktop, and I'm going to save this as to-pre-APRS. And then it says code plug saved successfully. So I'm going to assume that you already have a good code plug in your radio at this point. If you don't, I have a video up in the corner up here that will go through how to set up a code plug for your radio and kind of work on being a pretty easy metaphor to follow and get you going really well on that. That is beyond the scope of this video. This is only going to be APRS stuff. Okay, so here is where we get to set that TX frequency that we were having trouble setting in the radio. So I'm going to do 144.390. And we will take a look on the radio to see that that took this time. My call sign is KM9G. TX power, I set that in the radio to low. I'm going to keep it low here, but when you are out and about, you probably do want to have it set to high. Set that according to your operating practices. If you're nearby an APRS digipeater or iGate and you can reach it on low, then best operator practices are to use low power for that. TX tone, I leave this off, but this is your CTCSS tones. If you need to use a CTCSS tone, then you know why and you know what it would be. For the TX delay and the pre-wave time, there really isn't a whole lot of information about what these things are, but it says recommended is 100 milliseconds, and I guess that's 100 milliseconds for both. I did a little bit of digging on the internet, and Savo Luzar, I'm probably going to pronounce it, I probably pronounced his name wrong, S52SX, has a document out there, and in that document he recommends 500 milliseconds and 300 milliseconds. So I'm going to set these to 500 and 300 respectively. But in the spirit of amateur radio, if you think those numbers can be changed or can be improved with your personal radio and your nearby stations, then go for it, play with it, because that's what ham radio is all about, is experimenting and playing with things. Destination call sign, leave this blank unless you have something specific you want to do. This isn't the kind of radio where I think you want to have a destination call sign in, but if you wanted to do that, then by all means, go for it. The SSID, there are specific reasons to pick specific types of SSIDs, like some of these mean a mobile station or a base station or a handheld or something along those lines. I'm going to leave this one at 9 because why not? I'm not going to have a destination SSID because I don't have a destination call sign. This APRS tone one here is very important. I have not found a way to control the volume of the APRS beacon message when it goes out. So it's at a very loud volume level and I can't turn it down. I can turn it off, and that's what this is. This is you hearing your own APRS tone when you are beaconing it. You're just going to hear it every 30 seconds when you do that. So unless you really like those sounds, turn that off. And then here it says icon row and icon column, and you can do that if you look up the chart, or you can just push this button with the car on it and change it to the icon that you want it to, and then it changes. So it's now slash and less than, as opposed to slash and Z or slash and pipe. It's going to be slash and less than for a motorcycle icon. And these are well-known defined icons. These came out before emojis came out. That's how well-known they are. APRS signal path, wide 1-1, wide 2-1. And there's no spaces, commas, delineators, or anything between those paths inside of this radio config. And what happens with this is your radio beacons it out, and then the first person to grab it and repeat it strips off one of these and then beacons it out with the other one. And I may have done that in the backwards order. Don't yell at me. And then the next radio, so you send it to somebody and then that person sends it on. So the third person then receives it, strips that out, sends it out one more time, strips that out, sends it one more time when there's now nothing here. And then the last person to receive it sees that the signal path has been completely wiped out and therefore doesn't repeat it anymore. And then this is where we edited that message on the radio painfully with the microphone and the T9 input and the crazy symbol work. You can get to just about every symbol by pressing the one key over and over and over again. And when I did it, there was about 30 symbols or so. That's a lot of symbols to go through. So it's easier just to do it in here. TO is on the move. And then latitude, longitude, you can preset these by figuring out what your latitude and longitude is. You can do that on a compass application or a GPS device, or by going to Google Earth and picking a point on the map and typing it in. Or you can just do GPS location down here and it will grab it off of the radio's built-in GPS. And again, I've got the manual transmit interval and I have the auto interval, and I've got them both set to 30 because I'm doing some testing. And then we're not doing digital APRS, so we leave that alone. And now that we've got everything in the CPS updated, we hit write to radio and we pick a COM port. It's the one we already used and it already works. And we hit OK. And away we go.
Let's go into the menu and check to see that that frequency that we programmed in for APRS is doing its thing. Analog APRS, upload frequency. See how it's got that decimal point in there? That's perfect. When I am out here on the main screen, if I am somewhere else on the radio As an example, I'm on 2-meter call and I'm on the Quartzfest frequency. When it beacons, it's going to beacon out over the proper frequency. It's actually going to change frequencies internally to 144.390, send its beacon, and then change back to whatever it was that's on the display. So you don't have to worry about that. That's actually a really good feature.
I got a couple of links that I want to share with you. Number one is the included manual for the DB25 says nothing at all about APRS. It just 100% misses all of the stuff inside of the radio, doesn't even talk about it. The extended manual, which is a free download on Radiodity's website, radioddity.com, and you choose support and you choose Radioddity, and then you scroll down to the DB25 and you scroll down there. There is the extended manual, and the extended manual is a free download, and it has a bunch of extra stuff in it. And it's also full text searchable. So I'm going to go into my browser search function and I'm going to type in APRS, and it's going to tell me page 108 is APRS, and I click on it, and now we're into the APRS type stuff. And I'm going to get rid of the find box, which is going to unhighlight all the highlighted stuff. And then here is pretty much the stuff that I just showed you. It goes into a little bit more detail on each individual option. Okay, so there's some APRS stuff in the extended manual. The extended manual is pretty cool. A cool website to see what APRS stuff is going on in your area is aprs.fi. I'm going to go to that website. I'm going to go to the address, city, or locator part. I'm going to type in the address that I am in, Benson, Arizona, and I'm going to hit search. And we found it. And there is a weather station down here, N6RDS. Actually, this guy runs a repeater around here as well. So I'm thinking that he's doing some iGate work. Let's see. Info. It says via Helio. Huh. Okay. So this is Tucson area. This is whatever area this is. And then this is Sierra Vista, and I am somewhere in this area right here. So I guess it's showing stuff that has received and sent Helio packets. So if I'm outdoors and I have a good antenna and a good signal, I might get picked up by Helio. That's pretty cool. What I wanted to show you on the map is that there isn't a whole lot of stuff in the area here for APRS traffic. As you can see, we've got N6RDS. We've got whatever this station is over here, OXAG transmitter, so some type of pager system. And then if we scroll out a bit, you'll see some activity over here. This is the Tucson area. If we take a look at Google Maps, I am 50 miles away from Tucson, and there is a mountain over here and a couple of mountains in the area. And basically on 2-meter traffic, I'm not going to go 50 miles in the first place, let alone 50 miles past a mountain. So my straight line of sight path is through the side of this mountain here, if you guys take a look. So we're probably not going to do a whole lot of digipeating or whatnot, getting other signals around here. So now I'm going to do some radio stuff with the Vero VR N76. This one has APRS built into it, and basically I want to show that I am receiving the message from myself. So let's get over to the bench and play with that. Okay, now we have to wait for this radio to beacon. I said every 30 seconds. While we're waiting for that, let's take a look here. Okay, so I have already received a message. I'm going to wipe this out. And now there's no information and no teammate information. And there's that N6RDS I showed you. Freedom Net Repeater Organization. All right, cool. So now we need to wait for this radio to beacon. That was this radio beaconing. And there's KM9G-9, which is what we set it to. So let's read that message. TO is on the move. And then there's another N6RDS message. So now in here, I'm going to reply to this, and I'm going to say, OK. And I'm going to hit OK, and nothing should happen over here other than seeing that light turn green. So I have now sent a message from here to here, and it was received. But like I said, this message, this radio doesn't have any real receive functions to it. See how it's empty? That's because that's DMR APRS only. Let's go into the menu and see if we can send a message directly from the radio. I'm going to choose Select. I'm going to choose Analog APRS. I'm going to choose PTT Upload. And then from there I'm going to do TX Start.
So when I hit the PTT, it's going to send a message out. And then, let's see, upload text. I'm going to back this out so it just says TO is on. And then we will take our Vero radio. And this is currently on the APRS frequency on the A band. And I am on the lower VFO, and I'm going to PTT, which should have sent out an APRS message, but it did not send out an APRS message. So now I'm going to switch up to the A band, switch back to the APRS frequency. Weird. I'm getting some interference into my power supply when I do that. And that did not send an APRS message out. Menu, appendix, APRS, PTT upload. Let's set it to end. But it's still not sending out the PTT upload. Okay, so that's not working at all.
We have now successfully sent an APRS message from the DB25 to the N76. And that means that everything is working and my proof of concept is proven. So that's how you do APRS on this radio. It looks like it is beacon only for analog APRS. You can send specific targeted messages one at a time if you want from the radio. And kind of is what it is. While I'm driving down the highway or riding my motorcycle, I kind of don't want to be keying in APRS messages anyway. That's more of a stationary thing for me. But you might be different. And I think if you were different, you'd probably want a radio that had a better keyboard interface or was attached to some type of computer that had a better keyboard interface along with it. There will be links in the description down below for where you can get this radio or the Vero N76 and the documentation that I showed you for the extended manual that's got some APRS stuff in it for the DB25 and how to get the serial port driver installed if you're having trouble with getting the serial port driver installed on your radio. Otherwise, there's a video right over here I think you might enjoy next. Thanks for being awesome. I'll see you over there.